Hello, good afternoon, my dear students. First thing is whether you can hear what I say. Is the audio fine? Can you hear what I say? I am in the school today, so I had fixed YouTube live so that it is easier for me to tell you which is the chapter that we are going to begin and more about that chapter. Is my sound audible to you? Yes, that's good. Now, in that case, yesterday I told you that, to complete your NCERT exercises. I think that you might have written. Please do it quickly, wrap it up quickly. You have to write only the NCERT exercises. Remember, I'm not forcing you to write any other things. Write NCERT exercises, and you can take the picture of those and attach it in the classwork and send me in the Google Classroom. That's the first one. The second one, the next chapter is also from history, and we are going to do where we left off. And the chapter is ruling the countryside. Ruling the countryside is the chapter, and we're going to continue with this chapter. Now, if you have the book, you can open the book and see that the chapter begins with a picture. There is a very big picture in which you can see Robert Clive accepting the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha from the Mughal ruler in 1765. Isn't the time where we left off the first chapter, second chapter, where there are no more Nawabs now? The Nawab is the English, and the Diwani rights have gone to the East India Company. So to keep somebody as the representative of like Nawab, the East India Company is finally the Nawab. Now they have got the Diwani rights. Now they are called the Diwan of Bengal. On 12th August 1765, the Mughal emperor appointed East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal. And the event that you see in the picture probably may be like an exaggerated picture. ऐसे तो हुआ नहीं होगा. In the book it says so. Actual event might have taken place in the Robert Clive's tent with some few Englishmen and Indians as witnesses. But if you see the picture, it shows grand setting where the Mughal ruler is giving or commissioning the Diwani rights to the East India Company and to Robert Clive. Now, the grant of Diwani is a big one during that time. That's why maybe Robert Clive had commissioned a painter to record the memorable event like this. That's the painting that you see. As Diwan, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory under its control. Now they had to collect, organize the revenue resources. The company had the power to collect the revenue resources. This had to be done in a way that they could yield enough revenue to meet the growing expenses of the company. There were so many expenses, remember? For that, they did all these things, doctrine of lapse, the subsidiary alliance. From whatever they accumulated the revenue was spent on meeting their expenses here. So whatever they wanted to purchase, what was the first intention? To buy spices, silk, cotton. And to buy this, they need money. And where will they get money? And first, they did that with military expansion. The next one is doctrine of lapse. Some policies also helped. Now they have got the Diwani rights of Bengal, right? Then they can use that money to actually get them funded. Now, over the years, the company also learned that it had to move on with some caution, because being an alien power, it needed to pacify those. It needed to take care of the local rulers as well. Otherwise, they would not get any authority. Now, to do this, either you can eliminate the rulers, or you can make peace with the rulers, or you can bring any policy from which you can annex their territories. How this was done, and how was English East India Company successful in doing so, is what we are going to see in this chapter. We will see how the company came to colonize the countryside, that is the village, organize the resources, redefine the rights of people, and produce the crops it wanted. That's what we are going to learn in this chapter. Yes, that's the thing, Sriram. Buy at cheap, sell at high rate. That's what it is. Now let's go to the direct one. Revenue for the company. The first one. The company had become the Diwan, but it still saw itself as a trader. They wanted large revenue income but was unwilling to set up a regular system of assessment and collection. To collect the revenue, there was no regular system. The effort was made to increase the revenue as much as it could so that they can buy with more money. If you increase the revenue, obviously the revenue that you get will be more, and you can buy more amount of silk and cotton goods from it. But it was not done with the proper system. Within 5 years, the value of goods bought by the company in Bengal doubled. Before 1865, the company had purchased goods in India by importing gold and silver. You know it. Now the revenue collected in Bengal could finance the purchase of goods for export. Now, whatever the revenue that they collected itself was enough to buy the goods. First, they had to bring it from British, right? They had to get financed with the gold and silver. Soon it was clear that the Bengal economy was facing a crisis. Artisans started leaving the villages because they were forced to sell their goods at cheaper prices to the company. Peasants were unable to pay the dues because that was a time in 1770 there is a terrible famine hit Bengal, nearly killed 10 million people in Bengal. About 1/3 of the population was wiped out. When you have famine, when you have problem in the harvesting, you will have no good harvest. In turn, you cannot pay the revenue to the landlords, and in turn to the British East India Company. Then there is a need to improve agriculture. Now, if the economy was in ruins, could the company get certain revenue? No. Then they thought that they should design something from which they can get regular income, regular revenue. How this was to be done? Now, company finally introduced the permanent settlement in 1793. Focus on permanent settlement. That's what it's really important. Permanent settlement is the system where revenue assessment was done regular. Charles Cornwallis was the Governor General of India when permanent settlement was introduced. What is this? By the terms of the settlement, Rajas, Talukdars were recognized as Jamindars. They were asked to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to the company. Let's say if you have land and in that land somebody is doing cultivation, they will give you rent, right? And you collect the rent from all the people and give it to the British East India Company, and you can call it as revenue. Right, revenue. Fine. Okay, still some people are saying good morning, sir. It's already afternoon. Now, they were asked to collect rent and give it to the company. The amount to be paid was fixed permanently. What is the amount of the money that was supposed to be paid to the British East Indian Company was fixed permanently. That's why it's called permanent settlement. And the British government said that there will be no increase in that revenue. So, either a good harvest or a bad harvest, you will collect money from the peasants and give fixed money to fixed revenue to the East India Company. In making this, the East India Company found a way to get money, regular money. If there was no famine, would Indian population be the highest in the world? No, there will be some other disasters also, right? Yeah, why would you increase the population? Everybody wants to decrease it. Now, it was felt that this would ensure a regular flow of revenue into the company's company, and at the same time encourage the Jamindars to invest in improving the land, because if the land gets improved, there will be good harvest and they can collect the rent and they can keep it. Any amount of rent they can collect. They have to give fixed amount of revenue to the British. So that will help the Jamindars, right? Remember the word Jamindar. Jamindar, permanent settlement. Now there is a problem in it. Now what's the problem? Permanent settlement, however, created problems. Company officials soon discovered that Jamindars are not interested in investing in the improvement of land. The revenue that had been fixed was so high that Jamindar people found it difficult to pay. Anyone who failed to pay lost their Jamindari, and it was auctioned for other people who are interested to buy the Jamindari rights. And why it was high? It was very high. If the Jamindars cannot pay the revenue, obviously the peasants also cannot pay the rent also, right? You might remember This was an issue in we are going to study that one, Champaran in Bihar, and there is Kheda, where during the time they found it difficult to, not exactly at this time, but they find it difficult to pay the rent to the landlords, and they found it really difficult to give the revenue back to the East Indian Company. But the East Indian Company was adamant on collecting the fixed revenue. By the first decade of the 19th century, the situation changed. The prices in the market rose and cultivation started expanding. This meant an increase in the income of the jamindars, but no gain for the company because they had already fixed the revenue. Remember, that would not go high, that would not come down. Even the jamindars had an interest in improving the land. Some had lost their lands in the earlier years of settlement. Others now saw this possibility of earning without trouble and risk of investment because they are getting money. Then why would they invest in improving the land? As long as the jamindars could give out the land to tenants and get rent, they were not interested in improving the land. On the other hand, in the villages, the cultivator found the system extremely oppressive. Why? The rent he paid to the jamindar was high, and his right to the land was like debatable. First thing, the peasants paid the rent to the jamindar. However, he did not have any right on the land. You are just paying the rent, but you do not have any right on the land. To pay the rent, he had to take loan from the money lender. Sometimes when he doesn't have a good harvest, he needs to take money from the money lender. And you obviously know, when you take money from the money lender, when you fail to pay back, then a lot of problems are created. Maybe you're thrown out of the house, or whatever, your belongings are taken to those people. So that is what we are going to start. Now, today we just began with the chapter. Maybe tomorrow we have a video class live. I'll continue with this one. We just began with, remember what I started saying, that company became the Diwan of Bengal, and they wanted to collect revenue. They did not have a fixed system of collecting revenue. Charles Cornwallis designed a system called permanent settlement, according to which the Raja, Talukdars became Jamindars, and they collected rent from the peasant, and they gave revenue to the British, and the revenue was fixed. Problem was famine, and sometimes when the jamindars were not interested to invest in the land, and they found it difficult to pay to the British. One. The second one, peasants, those who paid rent, if they cannot pay the rent, they took loans and paid the rent, obviously did not have the right over the land. That's what we are going to stop it there. There it is. It was a very small one, and obviously very less people are here. So the video will be here. You can watch it. That's the beginning of that chapter. We'll continue that chapter tomorrow. As of now, it's goodbye from me. I got to go to the next class. Bye bye. Take care and have lunch and take care.